Voilà Maman et Papa, Freddie Gervais and Marie-Louise Baudry. Freddie was the oldest in a big family of 10 children. My mom and dad met, lived next to each other, and they met, married young, and Dad never finished school. He just went to grade 2 and could not read and write, but was the kindest, gentlest, sweetest man, patient and loving, and the best example of a father. And my mother was lively and very, what we call épétillante en français. She was full of bubbly and energetic and could tackle anything, nothing. She didn't shy away from any challenge. And she mysteriously learned to read and write and speak English. We don't know how. She, on her own, with 14 kids, she learned to read and write English and speak it, and to this day it's a mystery to us. So she died at 74 in Manitoba on her holidays, visiting her relatives. And my dad lived to be 85, and he was there to celebrate when Marcel was ordained as a bishop. So that was a wonderful celebration. We were blessed to have these two people as our parents. This is a picture of Louis, my oldest brother. He's the first one in the family. Hard-working, very generous, sweet person. Worked from morning till night. We'd see him in the fields in the morning, and we were going out on a date, and I remember thinking, oh, here he is still working, and I'm going out to party, and having this guilt feeling. Anyways, he was loved to hunt and fish, and he died just when he was, I think, just approaching 80. So we miss him. This brother, we called him Ted in English, but when we wanted to tease him, we would say, hey, tell us 1, tell us 2, tell us 3, tell us 4, or telephone. And he'd tease us and chase us. He was full of energy and a lot of fun, a good sportsman, high jumper, and he had a pet horse called Tkok. Grandpa gave him that horse. And if you want to read a good story, in the Grandpa section where they go to the race and Ted is riding Tkok, and these two guys play a trick on him, and they lose their first race ever. They weren't used to losing, so that didn't go over well. He married Mariel, and they have 12 children, most of them living in Quebec.
My name is Magella. I'm the third one in a family of 14, and the first girl. When we had the case of diphtheria, I was in charge of looking after all the children. So the only way to save them, I had to burn sulfur in a room, make sure that they choked twice, and make sure they all got in there, and I saved a whole bunch. No, the nurse said that none of them would live through it, but they lived. The little ones would die, but they didn't. I saved them.
She smoked us.
I smoked them.
So that's how we say
With sulfur.
My name is Adrian, and I'm the fourth child in the family. We were all raised on the farm. I'm the only one left today that's farming. And when I was in my early teens, I had diphtheria, which I don't recall much of it, but they tell me I survived it.
This is Henry. Now, he's the fifth one. He was very gentle and loving and kind with children and animals. He had a special touch with them. He always could reach those animals and children. And he never married, but we said he was married to his fiddle because he played that fiddle every day. And
dollar to tape now. Oh, la banam pila ban pam ki sa bata tu leader sa ka ba la ka ti ran gross ye da be.
Played many tunes for on this video that he played, and he died a few years ago. We miss him very much. And he died a few years ago. We miss him very much. All right, this is Lara. He is the sixth one in the family. He married Pat Devine from Aylmer, and they moved to Quebec and had 5 children. He started a pool table business, and he made the first table in his one-car garage. And now his children, run the family business, Palace and Pools. Sadly, he and his wife both died last year, just a few months apart. And you'll read Lawrence's in many of my stories in my book, and the one I love the best is where he had to move a dead body 3 times, and it was Halloween night. So that's my brother, Lara.
My name is Therese. I am the 7th in the family. And when I was quite young, I discovered a family secret when my grandfather came to see my grandmother and asked her to go and live with him in his old age. And Grandma agreed as long as he would have a home and she'd be ready for him when he came for her. But it never happened. They were separated for many years. So I was all thrilled because I thought we'd be visiting Grandma and Grandpa in their home.
Well, as I said, my name is Marie Ange, and I'm the 8th in the family. And what I felt was most dramatic for me is when we left our old town of Gibsonville. I was 15 years old, and that was very dramatic for me because I was leaving all my friends behind and not having traveled much. It was a big, big deal. And so at the back of the book, I just sort of more or less wrote the diary. I remember every trip, every place we went, every place we stopped, and geography ever since then has always interested me. I look up every map, I know all the details, and I was directing Dad on our trip with the old car, the old Studebaker, and we had bags instead of over top of the fenders. We didn't have much of a trunk because there were 7 of us in the car, and they were like potato sacks filled up over the fenders of the car. And here we were traveling through Duluth and Bemidji and all these big cities.
And the bags were flopping in the wind, your clothes.
At 15 years old, you don't know what to think. But anyhow, we were very blessed to get where we wanted to get to in Ontario without any incident other than my dad had to go to Duluth to fix the car because something needed to be fixed, and we were lucky to get fixed. So it was quite an adventure. Well, I just had to deal with it like everybody else had to deal with. The family was all together, we were all in one place, and we just make the best of it.
My name is Marcel Gervais, and I am the 9th of a family of 14, and my sister is Denise, who wrote the book. And she told about many incidents involving my life. And one of them was the incident where I had boiling hot tea poured on top of me. And as a witness to the truth of that fact, you can look at my arm. It has no hair. So you see that there? See that? Okay.
It healed nicely.
It healed perfectly because of the care of my sister Magella and my dad and my mother. And the Lord was with me too.
And now this is Estelle. She's number 10. She comes between the 2 priests. And we tease her about that. We thought she should have been a nun. Well, we call her La Star Manquée because she's a character and has entertained us all our lives. Always makes us laugh. And we miss her today. She's alive and well, living in Troy, Michigan. And her husband isn't well. He's blind in one eye and the other eye is going. So she couldn't leave him. And so we do miss her. And you'll read about her in the book. She's the one that stood up to the nun who was putting salt on the porridge. And the nun gave her a hard time and said, "You, young lady, are riding on the tail of the devil." So that's Estelle. So you'll find that a great story because she's a spunky girl and a lot of fun, and we miss her. And Fred, her husband, they had 5 children, And he's our guitar player, and we sure miss him today too. So that's Estelle, number 10.
I'm Charlie Gervais, Charles Gervais en français, and I'm 7 come 11, the 7th son and the 11th child of a family of 14. And I worked for many years, over about 25 years in the Philippines and 8 years in Ecuador as a missionary. And
now you're writing your own book.
now, because my sister Denise wrote a book, I figure I have to see if I can beat her, so I'm writing my own book. So anyway, that's who I am. My book will be finished maybe in about a year.
My name is Celine Howard, Gervais Howard. I'm the 12th in the family. And in the book, I have one particular story that I'm pictured with a chicken in my arms. And I don't think I've ever held a chicken since, because they're not the most cuddly things. And I still wonder how they made me hold that chicken for that picture. Denise is about a year and a half older than me, or younger than me, and we've always been close and still are. I don't know, we probably had it for dinner.
My name is Denise Gervais Regan. I'm the 13th one in a family of 14. And now when I was little, our mother would tell us a story about being left in an orphanage when she was 4 years old. And that was so traumatic, and we would listen to her stories, and then she'd say, you know, my life story would make a good book, and I hope someday one of you 14 kids writes that book. And so suddenly one day I turned 50 and I looked around, nobody was writing Mother's book. I thought, okay, I'm not a writer, I'm a grandma, I'm a teacher, but I'll find a writer. So I went looking, taking courses, and maybe she could write it. No. But as I'm writing, people are saying, you know, I think you could do it. So I started writing the book. Then somebody then said to me, I think this story of your birth would make a good play. So the story happened when Mom was pregnant for me. A rich woman came to the door and said, Madame Gervais, I know that you're losing the farm. If you could give me this baby, this 13th one, I will see that you don't lose your farm. And so what do? Well, if you want to know, you have to go see the play, which premiered in Blythe. Then it's going on in Manitoba Theatre Centre in Winnipeg in the year 2012-13. Then after I wrote the play, people came to me and said, well, did you lose the farm? You'll have to go and see the play if you want to find out if they did, in fact, lose the farm. So I went back and finished the book. And here it is, the 13th one. And that's me there. And there's the family. So it's on sale here and there. Look on my web and you'll see it. So that's it.
My name is Hubert, and I'm number 14. And the youngest in the family. Everybody calls me the baby, but I'm really not the baby, and I'm not spoiled.
You are.
I've heard these stories so many times it feels as though I actually lived them, but I wasn't even born in many cases. However, I still enjoy them every day. My favorite story is when Magella and Adrian milked the cow, and they forgot to untie the tail. They went to milk the cows, and they were milking, and there was a lot of flies, so they decided to tie the tail up so that they wouldn't get swished with and while they were milking, and when they were finished, I think it was Magella that forgot to untie the tail. And as the cow left the barn, all they heard was a big moo, and a big trail of blood left there. And the tail was hanging from the cord.